Welcome to Super Talk Outdoors, where we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi, because we're in the capital of the outdoors in America, from right here in the Foundation Studio on Biloxi's Back Bay. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful Super Talk Mississippi Radio Network, or on Super Talk TV at C-Spire TV. But some of you are watching on YouTube or Facebook or listening on your favorite podcast. It's May the 22nd. 2023. I want to especially thank the foundation, the title sponsor of Super Talk Outdoors. They're focused on important issues about protecting Mississippi's wildlife heritage. We really appreciate that. By the way, the views on this show are mine, not those of the foundation. And as I say every week, you can count on me to say what needs to be said when it comes to conservation issues in this state. And I'm super, super honored to be here. Hey, listen, I want to move over to my producer, Cal Curley. We don't chat enough on Super Talk Outdoors, and I just wanted to say good morning to him and see how he's doing, and have a quick chat with him before we move to our first guest. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing really good, man. You doing anything fun in the outdoors?
Been mostly baseballing lately. We've not had a chance. My son and I talked about it this weekend about trying to go fishing. We thought we were going to get to go yesterday morning, but it just didn't pan out. Everyone had different plans, and everybody's going 100 miles an hour in different directions. So maybe in the next, I don't know, couple of weeks, we got his travel baseball schedule over the weekend, so it looks pretty busy through the end of July.
Well, look, there are a lot of people listening to this show right now that have either been in your position or in your position right now. And, you got your priorities right. Your son's enjoying baseball. He's really a good baseball player. But I know how much he loves to fish, too. So you'll find your little opening and get out and enjoy it with him.
Oh, yeah. I think even if on some of the travel weekends, we'll just bring our fishing poles and find a window that we can go wherever we're at, whether because we're playing anywhere between Lafayette and Birmingham. So there's going to be a place to fish if we have time.
Yeah, I know that. Hey, we went out this weekend, and my observation from my son Jordan was, even though it's getting toward the end of May now, the water offshore. We went about 60 miles offshore and did some mangrove fishing. We had just had an amazing fishing day, but slick, calm. It was raining torrentially when we left, and it was raining torrentially when we came back. But all the time offshore was just beautiful. But what the observation was is, it's been so warm, the water, it's like summertime out there right now. It's already in that summertime mode. And fishing along the coast has gotten that way too. I bet you're hearing reports of that.
Yeah, so far the fishing's been pretty good along the piers and stuff that we would have access to easily here. I'm really looking forward to Moses Pier once we get a chance to go. Fishing should be unbelievable right there.
Yeah, I know you love that. One of the beautiful things about coastal Mississippi is we have so many great piers, stretching all across coastal Mississippi, and you don't have to have a boat to have great fishing here in coastal Mississippi. And Kyle, it's fun because he gets these little windows and he can go out with his son and take advantage of that, and then. You got work to do. He's got his school work and other stuff to do, but you find those openings, and when you post those beautiful videos for us, you can tell you're in heaven when you're doing it, aren't you?
Yeah, I sent him one a week and a half ago. Was at lunch and was at Long Beach Harbor, and took some great videos. And I sent it to him during school just to mess with his head.
Well, look, thanks, my friend, for what you do for the show. I appreciate you.
You bet, not a problem. My pleasure.
Yeah. Cal Curley, the producer of Super Talk Outdoors. Hey, listen, I'm thrilled to have Ryan Jones back. He's a fisheries biologist. He's originally from Brandon. He's been on the show before. We've had terrific visits. We're gonna talk about a number of things, but we'll just catch up. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing well. How about yourself, Ricky?
I'm doing good. So where are you coming to us today?
I'm at headquarters.
You're at headquarters. Good
Yes,
for you,
sir.
man. Hey, listen, I was thinking about you the other day. We've got a place up in Shula, and I at least 3 different farms: Shula, Minter City, and then in the basic Itabena area. And the main lodge for our little family hunting club is in Itabena. And it's on a beautiful lake, man. I mean, it's just an absolutely beautiful lake. But this time of year, man, the vegetation starts to grow, and you almost can't even see the water. You hear that a lot, don't you?
Are you talking about roebuck?
Yes.
Roebuck. Yeah, there's been a lot of water hyacinth on Lake Roebuck for a long time. We're actually working on reducing populations of water hyacinth on Horseshoe Lake right now near Chula.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to basically use booms to like create different zones that we treat in, and because that water hyacinth just moves around and so much of it, and it grows so fast, that if you don't treat it very aggressive and isolate the populations, you can't really deal with them. So, we're trying to have a new approach to managing it because it is a very difficult plant.
Yeah, I've not heard the idea of booning it before like that. That's that. So you can
What happens is you go to spray it, and you spray a lot, and then the wind picks up, moves it around, and next time you come to spray, it's like a mosaic of sprayed and unsprayed vegetation. And so if you don't isolate the populations and treat within different zones, it's pretty much impossible.
Can you defeat it?
I think so. It's just you have to be, you have to stay on it, and like I said, when you do have success, you have to put a boom in there to keep that success so it doesn't just blow it around. You have to, get one area clear, boom it off, and then move into another area. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're going to try to move toward.
Hey, so for people who have not heard us talk before, tell them what your position is at the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, and what it is you do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Well, I was Central Region Bio for the last 10 years. Last August, I just took a coordinator position here at headquarters. I'm responsible for coordinating the technical staff statewide, so the regional fisheries biologists and the hatchery managers. And so, as you can imagine, there's just a lot of day-to-day things that are going to happen that we got to try to, help the staff figure out and just knock out tasks here to here, putting out fires left and right,
Yeah. So the last time we talked, you just sort of moved into that position. How's it going for you?
It's good. It's good. It's a lot. Sometimes I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose, but that's okay. I'm gonna get used to it. Working on learning how to do federal aid as well. So kind of working on that aspect as well. I just got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah.
We're kind of looking at right now investigating the Lake Washington fishery. So I'm heavily involved in kind of looking at every aspect of that fishery right now as we continue to sample and investigate what's going on with that crappie population.
Yeah. Hey, so we'll actually come back to that here in just a second. When you think about your technical staff that you've got spread across the state, give me the makeup of that staff.
Yeah, so we have 5 regions, Northeast that has state lakes, Park Lakes, and Pickwick and Tin Tom, and then we got Northwest has flow control reservoirs. So they a lot of, obviously Keith Mills, he does a great job with those reservoirs. And then we have a Delta region where we do a lot of the plant management, and it's more made up of Delta Oxbow lakes, management of those. And then you have the Central region, which is a large region, goes from Vicksburg over to Meridian and has state lakes, state park lakes, oxbows, rivers, streams, reservoirs. It has all, and then a coastal region has a lot of coastal rivers and some state lakes and park lakes and that sort of thing. So that's kind of how we're spread out in 5 different regions.
So I can only imagine when you think about the different kinds of water sources that you're dealing with, or whether it's lake or oxbows or rivers or whatever, the biologists that report to you have a wide range of technical capabilities.
That's right. Well, and each of these environments are different. Fisheries are kind of affected by different factors, in each type of fishery. So I think regional biologists kind of get used to their region and how they manage their type of fishery,
Mm-hmm. Hey, so when you talk about, we mentioned just one example of aquatic vegetation control, but give me an idea of the kind of efforts you guys are involved in around the state.
So in the Delta region, it's mostly that water hyacinth issues. Water hyacinth and alligator weed is what we deal with. But outside of that, we have an interlocal cooperative agreement with Pearl River Valley Water Supply District.
Hey, let's do this. Ryan, when we get on the other side, we'll talk more about this vegetation control effort that you're on and whatever else is on your mind. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Ryan Jones from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. We'll see you after this.
I said 3 Mississippi to this land called home. I'll breathe Mississippi till I'm dead and gone. Just carry on. I'll carry on. Mississippi.
Leading the conversation on Mississippi's outdoors. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Mathews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I have my friend Ryan Jones from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And, in 2018, he was the Fisheries Biologist of the Year for the department. So always good to kind of point that out. So, Ryan, let's come back to this vegetation issue that you face. Why don't you finish telling me more about that?
Yeah, so you're talking about what we do statewide?
To control, yes.
So each regional bio has his own kind of plant management plan for the lakes that he manages, so he or she manages. And so whatever they're planning on treating, they'll prepare for that type of treatment the previous year and utilize those types of herbicides, for whatever their case is for their state lake, state park lake, or public water body that they have to deal with. So it's different annually what everybody's going to treat, but we do have a interlocal agreement with Pearl River Valley Water Supply District to manage the plant community on Ross Barnett Reservoir, which is a full-time job. And so basically we just treat exotic invasive plants out there and try to manage 4 native species out on Ross Barnett Reservoir. So there's been a lot of, back in 2020, we had some really high water that blew a lot of tubers and seeds and stuff into deeper water or buried them, one or the other. And a lot of the lily pads, a lot of the American lotus that was out there really got buried in that high water in 2020. And it's coming back, but it's like slow, but a lot of people think that our herbicide treatments on Ross Barnett Reservoir have resulted in that, but that's certainly not the case. There's a lot of pad fields that were there we've never treated anything in that are just gone, and we do plant surveys every year, and it kind of shows how we're doing, the percent coverage, composition of different exotic species. We kind of monitor them every year, but lotus has always been kind of right there around 25 to 30%. And after 2020, it really dropped. I mean, it was like 8%. And then this last year it was back to like 15%. So it's kind of coming back, but these are the types of things that we do. We monitor the vegetation and along with treatments. So.
Yeah, so I have a friend of mine who has had a lake for many years that he's really worked hard to manage properly. And what I've heard from him, and you guys apparently do a really good job of this, and that is consulting with private landowners who have lakes or ponds or whatever, to manage it, to optimize for bass or whatever. This is a really good service you guys offer there, isn't it?
Yes, sir. We provide technical guidance to private landowners. Basically, we try to figure out what their goals are. We let them know how realistic it is, and then provide them, with a framework of how to get there if they want to, depending on their goal and what kind of property they have and that sort of thing. So talk me through the process. So if I own a lake and you guys came in, what's the first thing we would do? Take me through that process. Okay. First thing I want to know is how big, how many acres you got. Say if we were having a phone consultation, I want to know how big a water body you have, and then what your goals are, and I want to know about what have you stocked it with. If you never stocked it and you just kind of, a lot of people call it because they just bought a property, and so the first thing we want you to do is go fish it, and then tell us what kind of fish, you call it, what size is a bass and brim. And 90% of the time we can kind of hear that information and give you guidance pushing forward. But 90% of the ponds are bass crowded because people don't harvest fish anymore, and naturally the bass will just overcrowd and they'll get a lot of small bass so normally you would want to remove 10, 15 pounds per acre annually. A small bass, bass 13 inches and below or 14 inches and below, somewhere around there, harvest some of your smaller predators. It provides a little bit more forage for those remaining each year, and they're able to grow faster.
Well, cool. So, and you've had a lot of success working with private property owners across the state who have sung your praises for many years, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, in the Central region, we used to do a lot of pond checks. I mean, that it kind of, that's the first thing you do on a Monday morning, come in and get your ponds knocked out, because it was always a list.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, listen, I don't know if we've talked since the deer season. Did you have a good deer season of hunting?
Oh man, to be honest, I was busy with the youngins. I was doing baseball, like he was, man.
Like Cal, yeah.
Yeah, baseball and soccer, chasing these youngins around. I got 3 boys, and they keep me on the ball field.
Yeah, well, man, we've definitely all been there for sure. Hey, so there was a note here about hand grabbing. I'm assuming that's noodling. That's popular in this state, isn't it?
Yeah, it is popular. A lot of people. I don't do it as much as I used to, but yeah, it's a thrill for sure to go underneath that water and put your hand in a box and get bit.
Hey, so for people who don't know about noodling and haven't been, talk us through it. Tell us the process and the bravery and courage that's required.
Well, I mean, you're kind of wading around out there. People do it different. There's some, if you were to go to a natural oxbow or something in the Delta, people be kind of trying to grab out of holes and cavities on the shoreline. But a lot of the stuff, like on Barnett, you got a lot of boxes and stuff that people put out for cavities, spawning cavities for these catfish. So, and that's what they're trying to do. They're in these boxes or cavities trying to spawn. And when you stick your hand in there, they're protecting the nest. Basically, you go down there blind. Typically, what you would do is stick your foot in there, and see if anything's there, and you'll find out pretty quick. And then, and once then you can go down there and be prepared, take a big breath, get down there, and you put your hand in there, and they're going to snap on it. Best thing to do is when you grab a hold of them, just flip them over, and roll around on them like that, and pull them out. That's how you do it. You got to turn them upside down.
So there's a technique. There's a technique to when you get this big catfish grasping hold of your arm. And you're underwater.
They're powerful now. I mean, yeah, and they get a hold of your arm, and it's almost gets to a point of fight or flight sometimes. You get out there, and that big jugger's got a hold of your hand. You got to come out with it, or something's got to give. So it's
how heavy is the box anchored?
Yeah, well, a lot of times people use riprap or whatever it is to keep box down to get it good and submerged there, and it'll eventually waterlog. I never put any boxes out personally. I don't have any boxes out on Barnett or anything like that, so I've never even built one. But I've just been a little bit, and it is flatheads are the best. See, flatheads, they're gonna try to eat your arm, like swallow it whole. Whereas the blue cat just wants to really crush. Blue cat's gonna grab a hold of your hand and try to crush the bones in that jugger. So it's better actually to get a flathead, because the flathead goes all the way into your elbow just about, and then you can just turn him over and pull him out. Whereas that blue wants to hurt you.
Well, look, if somebody's just driving through Mississippi listening to this show,
They're not gonna know.
Kyle, do you want your arm eaten or your hand crushed? Which one do you want?
I don't want any part of it.
Hey, Kyle, you need to go one time. You just need to go one time.
No, I'm good. No, I'm good.
People hear this. Okay, these folks are getting underneath the water, sticking their foot in the box to see if something's there, and then if something's there, then they're just feeding their arm and hand to these. I mean, some of these catfish,
25, 50, 60.
Yeah.
I mean, big fish.
Well, I like that. Do you just want to, have you, does it hurt? Honestly, does it hurt? And do you know people that's been injured?
The injuries occur because there's a lot of old stuff out there that's illegal to put out, like old hot water heaters and that sort of stuff. And people are walking around out there, and they step on it, or they kick it or something like that. Or, you need to wear gloves when you hand grab. You need to wear some gloves. Yeah. You need to wear a sleeve.
Yeah.
Because if you do get a hold of something in there and it's real, if there's any sharp edges on the box that you're trying to reach in, I mean, you can slice your arm open. It's you do have to be careful for that too.
Well, that'd be a good headline for this show. Do you want your hand crushed or your arm eaten?
Let's associated with hand grabbing.
Yeah, let Ryan tell you what your choice is. Hey, listen, this has been a fun conversation, my friend. It's been great to catch up with you.
Yeah, you too.
You have a great day. We'll see you after this break.
Appreciate it.
Just carry on. I'll carry on. Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I really enjoyed that conversation with Ryan. Now let's shift gears and move over to my friend Captain Brent Madden. And Brent's, we've been on the show before. He's over the Mississippi Conservation Officers Training Academy. He's actually at the academy now, and we'll get the latest from him. But how you doing, Brent?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. So describe where you're coming to us from today.
I'm actually inside the cadet barracks right now. If you'll notice, about half the bunks are made up and half aren't. The cadets left last Wednesday to start Melota yesterday morning, which is the police academy at Pearl.
Hey, so let's for people who don't know about the Conservation Officers Training Academy and haven't heard you and me talk about it before, we'll come back to the requirements of a conservation officer, how do you apply in the process and all that. But talk to me specifically about the process. Once someone has been been hired as a conservation officer, take us through the process.
So once they're hired as a conservation officer, they'll start our academy. We try to line it up to where it's 8 to 10 weeks before police academy starts. So they'll show up at our academy. That we'll line them up for success to be fully prepared for the police academy at Pearl. Once they get done here, they'll go to Pearl Police Academy Melota for about 12 weeks, 11 or 12 weeks. Then they'll come back to us for the remaining of the 12, 13 weeks that they didn't complete on the front end. Once they get done with that, we'll put them in the field with a field training officer for 3 months. At the end of those 3 months, we put them with another field training officer for an additional 3 months, which totals 6 months. Then they will be under indirect supervision of their field supervisor for 6 more months, and I'll assign them classes along to do. So roughly it's about 18 months of training.
Wow, that's incredible. So, like, as we said, he's got bunks behind him. How long do they actually stay at that facility?
Yes, sir. They usually report on Sundays, usually around 3 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Sunday afternoons, and they won't leave until Thursday afternoon. So they stay here the whole time.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's really intense. I mean, you're going, and over the years, as we described last time we talked, over the years it's been refined, and there's a lot more to learn than there used to be. I think one of the points you used to make is give them a little bit of instruction and turn them loose. It's not like that anymore, is it?
No, sir. It's especially this day and time where accountabilities is everything now. We want to know that we've provided them with all the tools and training needed, and then some before they're completely on their own. Because, like I said, accountability and integrity is the most important thing in today's law enforcement field.
You know what's interesting, Brandon? Most people can probably relate to this. If you turn on any cable network these days, and you just kind of run the channels, you're gonna come across some of those reality programs that are involving conservation officers from Texas or Alaska or Montana. I mean, actually, it turned out that probably is a very popular show. But what's interesting about watching a conservation officer in action is they face such a wide variety of situations, and what really comes to mind is how calm they are, and how hard they're working to sort of deflate the situation, whatever it might be, and kind of handle it to the best of their ability so that things don't turn south on them. That takes a lot of psychology training, really. I mean, you've really, I bet you guys do a lot of role playing and so on. I mean, you've got to have, somebody's got to be well skilled to handle situations like that.
Right. We do a lot of scenarios, probably to the point where they get tired of doing scenarios. We'll call other officers in to act as role players. But, from day one, we preach to them accountability and responsibility, things of that nature. But, you can't train too much. You go a little bit at a time, but every training we try to build on it. We may start at something as simple as checking a fishing license from a bank fisherman, and then it develops into, well, they had a gun in their tackle box. How are you going to approach that? Most people have guns, but the end result is we teach our cadets that 99.9% of the folks that they're dealing with are either trying to put meat in the freezer or have a good time, or both. It's the 0.01% that'll get you in trouble. And of course, you always hear complacency kills. Our biggest thing is teaching our officers not to be complacent. Always expect the unexpected, but treat people as you would treat your grandmother until they choose to, turn the roles in the situation.
Yeah, it can be a delicate balance. Currently, the goal right now is it essentially 2 conservation officers per county? Is that what the goal is?
Yes, sir. Our goal is to try our best to have at least 2 in each county. Some counties only have 1. Other counties don't have any, and we have to call on officers from other counties. Some counties need 3. I'm from Scott County. We used to have 3 in Scott County because we have over 100,000 acres of public land in Scott County, and there's plenty of other counties in the state that, just like Madison County has so much water in it. Rankin County, you could easily put 3 in those counties.
Yeah, it's amazing to me what they have. So if an officer encounters something that is not going well, is the backup the other conservation officer, or is it like the county sheriff's department or police department and highway patrol? How does that work?
Well, it usually depends on the situation. If we're on the water, on the river, usually there's others working the water at the same time we are. They just may be in a different boat. But if it's out in the woods, a lot of times we're by ourselves. Usually it's going to be the local sheriff's department. Yeah,
that's why it's important not to try to keep something from getting escalated. I mean, that's
right. Well, another thing to think of is, somebody that's been working the county or the highways, it's easy to find a location along a county road or a highway, but hardly ever we're going to stay in our trucks. We may be a mile in the woods, and then that's when the real searching and work starts, is once you get out of that truck and start looking for that officer to get in there to back him up.
Hey, so Brent, one of the things I'm curious about is that's a lot of training, a lot of huge commitment. What's your level of attrition once you get started?
Usually within the first, well, let me back up. Usually the first 3 weeks, if somebody's going to quit the academy, it's going to be within the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, you're always open to injury, things of that nature, and losing somebody. But typically, if a cadet stays the first 3 weeks, and we tell them this on the front end, give us 3 weeks. But 3 weeks is the key time frame on being able to keep somebody within the training. After training, usually within the first 3 to 5 years, you've lost 25 to 30% of the class.
Wow. And they might go to be a law enforcement officer somewhere else, or,
That's right.
you know, maybe going back to school. There were probably a number of different reasons for that. But you've really worked hard. One of the things we talked about before is the hiring process is intense. You guys are really focused on, you know, it's, again, you're before it was give them some good instructions and let them go. But today, because of what they're having to prepare for, it's so many different scenarios, like you and I were talking about a few minutes ago. The reality is that you've got to really, really work hard to make sure you're hiring the best and brightest among the group, and it's something you guys really focus on, isn't it?
It is, and we take pride in it. Usually, when we drop our group off at Police Academy per se, they always brag about our hiring process, because it's, you know, they're always, our caliber of cadets or recruits, they really brag on that. We don't drop off any iffy folks, if you will. It's when we drop them off there, we're vetting them. We're putting our name on them. Hey, these are our folks.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You actually were a conservation officer for like 17 years, right?
Yes, sir.
17
Yes, sir. I've been
years.
on since 05, and of course things have changed a lot since then, the laws and everything else. But it's still my dream job. I wouldn't have any other job.
I can see that, man. I can see that you love what you're doing. You're trying to share that passion with others. And it was seen to me, look, here's the thing. I haven't met a conservation officer. I'm sure there are probably some bad apples in the group somewhere, but I haven't met one that wasn't really, really attentive and smart and kind, and I mean, just great at what they did. I mean, the crop of conservation officers you guys have right now are absolutely terrific. At least my experience has been that. Hey, when we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with Captain Brent Madden. He's over the Mississippi Conservation Officers Training Academy. We actually want to talk a little bit more about if you're interested in this job, or you know someone who might be interested in it. We'll talk about how to apply and what the hiring process looks like, and talk a little bit more about how often they do the training academy, so on. So we'll see you after this break with more from Brent Madden.
We live in one of the best places in America to enjoy the outdoors. So let's talk about it. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Mathews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. For the final segment, I have my friend Captain Brent Madden, who's head of the Mississippi Conservation Officers Training Academy. And I enjoy visiting with you, Brent, because I can tell you're passionate about what you're doing. And you got to take it seriously, because you don't want, with all of the new laws and requirements, and the point you made at this notion that you made around accountability, you don't want to let anyone out there who's not ready for just about any potential scenario. And you take that very seriously, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do. And going back to the FTO program that we have, you know, if they get to the end of that first 3 months and that FTO feels like, no, they're not quite ready to go to this second phase, we'll keep them on there a few more weeks before we release them into the next phase. And then it's the same way with the next phase. And then when they fall under the lieutenant in the training phase, and then the final evaluation, everything, they're held accountable for their own actions and their own training. But yes, it all comes back to training. If somebody gets sued for actions, that's one of the things they look at was the officer properly trained.
Yeah. And I know you guys are doing everything in your power to make sure that one comes back as a big time yes, for sure.
Yes, sir.
So if someone's interested in being a conservation officer, what would your advice be?
Well, obviously they got to be at least 21 years old. A lot of the career days and things of that nature that we go to, the high school juniors and seniors, they think, man, 21 will never get here. I might as well do something else. Well, for this job, you got to have at least a 2-year degree, an associate's degree, or 64 college hours, which that'd put you close to 20 years old by the time you get done with that, if you graduate at 18. Me personally, I encourage folks to either get their degree in this, go on to another 4-year university, get their bachelor's degree. But I'll also encourage them to go to if they're dead set on just getting a 2-year degree, I tell them to go to a local junior college or whatever's best for them and learn a trade. There's a high demand for manual labor right now, and that would help them out in the long run. But at the end of it, they got to have at least 64 college hours or an associate's degree. If they don't have any college, the only other option is if they were already in law enforcement. They've been to police academy. They've only got to have now is the requirement is only 2 years of experience, where it used to be 5 years. And that'll take effect July 1st.
Yeah. So someone's interested. What would they expect to see as they go through the hiring process?
It's a lengthy process. Anything dealing with state or federal government is going to be a longer process than just going to a local hardware store or factory, wherever they may go get a job, and they sit down with a boss and shake hands and they smile a little bit and look them in the eyes. It's a lot more to that. So what we do is we'll post it on our website and advertise for it, and they will actually click a link on our website, and they'll redirect them to the state personnel board, and they fill out the application. At the end of that window, usually it's a 30-day window, state personnel board will send us all the applications. We don't get the applications right when they fill it out. We get it at the end of the 30 days. Once we get those, we go through it, make sure they're qualified, and then we actually send out our job applications to them through email. Once they send those back, we will set them up for a PT test and a swim test, and then we'll set up the interview process after that. So there's about 5 different steps in our hiring process. Once they get through the first interview, we'll even do a background check on them, thorough background check. The local county officer actually go to their house and interview them, and go and talk to their former employers and things of that nature. So it's a very lengthy process that obviously doesn't happen overnight. But I'll give you an instance. Normally we will, out of 30 days, normally we'll get around 250 applications sent in state personnel board. Once I vet those and see who's qualified and who's not, that usually narrows it down to about 175 folks. Once I send out emails, out of those 175, we only usually get 50 or 60 packets back. Once we have the PT test, we'll usually lose 5 or 6 at the PT test. So generally, we'll interview 50 people, first round interviews, and then we drop it down to about 25 the next round, and then we try to hire 15 to 20 out of that.
Mm-hmm. When you say PT test, you're talking about it's a physical test?
Yes, sir. They'll do a 1.5 mile run. They'll do 2 minutes of push-ups. They'll do an agility run, and after all that's over, we'll jump across town, and they'll do a swimming test, which there's nothing to it. They just swim from one side of the pool to the other, or one end of the pool to the other. They can dog paddle. They can float on their back. We just need to know that, they can keep themselves up for a few seconds on top of water.
Yeah, that's good. Listen, this is, the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks is a first-class organization with so many dedicated employees. And if someone wants to give back to conservation the way that so many of the people that I have the opportunity to talk to here on Super Talk Outdoors are doing, this would be a great job for the right person who really enjoys the outdoors and wants to contribute back to Mississippi. Hey, Captain Brent Madden, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend.
Yes, sir. I enjoyed it.
Keep up the good work. Listen, have a great week. As I always say, stay safe in the outdoors. Just always put safety first. Have a great week. God bless you, and we'll see you next Monday.